Hello, I'm Paul Peterson. Since its inception in 1980, the goal of the Plato Society has been to encourage older adults to pursue intellectual growth by creating a community that nurtures just that. A part of UCLA Extension, one of the nation's largest continuing higher education providers, Plato provides its more than 400 members with opportunities to research and study fascinating subjects as diverse as the life and work of architect Frank Lloyd Wright, Nobel Prize winners in economics, and the abuses and misuses of science, to name just three. Joining us today are members of the Plato Society who will give us an insight into the cultural and intellectual benefits to be gained from joining their program. Please stay tuned for Aging in LA. Both the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal agree that the Perpetual Learning and Teaching Organization, otherwise known as Plato, is a rare and exceptional lifelong learning program. Housed at the UCLA campus at Westwood, Plato provides study groups on 25 different subjects, each of the 3 terms annually. Our guests today are members of the Plato Society. Welcome to Fred Goldberger, chairperson of the membership committee, and Linda Kellemer, chairperson of the colloquium committee. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Now, Linda, quickly, what is the colloquium committee?
Colloquium is a forum that meets once a month for 7 months of the year at Skirball, where we have guest speakers speak on a variety of subjects, and usually they're very well skilled in what we have 2 Pulitzer Prize winners this session, for example.
Wow.
And they come and they speak to our group and invited guests, and it's our way of reaching out to the community and letting them know a little bit about what Plato is like. And you get to hear them talk about the subject that they know the most about.
That's great. Well, colloquium, of course, implies some sort of interchange. The audience able to
Absolutely.
question the presenter?
And it being a Q&A afterwards, we get some very pertinent, interesting questions, such as when we had Cardinal Mahoney come to speak recently, and Pulitzer Prize winner Saul Friedlander, who is wonderful. So we get, from all aspects of life, people who come and speak to our groups.
That's fantastic. Now, Fred, you have a most interesting background. You're a retiree from business. Thought you were going to be out there murdering fish and playing golf, and here you are running the membership committee for the Plato Society. How did you come to the society?
Well, when I quit work, I started to play golf and travel, do all the things I never could do. And then I had back surgery. And there goes the golf, and there goes everything else. And I heard about the Plato Society from friends of mine, and I called them up and went through the process, and going on my 5th year now.
Wow. What I won't ask so much what drew you to it, but what keeps you interested? I mean, the chair of the membership committee, I'm sure you're involved in outreach and you want others to share your experience, but what benefits did you realize from this participation?
Well, the membership committee thing is my way of paying back for everything that Plato has provided me. You have an opportunity, we have a unique learning opportunity there. We don't lecture. We have a dialogue. And so what happens is, while we are part of UCLA Extension, we design the courses, we pick the coordinators, and then the membership picks the course that they want, or we call them study discussion groups, SDGs, that they want to do. And it's a very unique way of getting together with very bright people, not necessarily all doctors or attorneys or professors, but from all walks of life, and we help teach each other. The 3 things we don't talk about: we don't talk about our children or grandchildren, we don't talk about our health, or as we call it, an organ recital, and we don't talk about our past life. And it's just a wonderful way to continue learning, sharing the experience with other members, and as an aside, meet some very interesting people who then, of course, you can, after Plato, if you have the same interests, follow up on that.
And that's so important. Gosh, the socialization is one of those things that our seniors, I think, miss most. You know, in our ordinary work life, we are in constant contact with people. We're on the phone or having business lunches, and then we come to a point in our life where, where'd all the people go? And here's a way where you can keep yourself engaged. Now, importantly, you're right there at the UCLA campus, so it's easy to get to, even by public transportation.
Yeah, we're located in Westwood proper. We're on Gailey, 1083 Gailey, okay. And so it's very contiguous to all public transportation, private transportation. If you live on the west side, so many of our members walk there, and yeah, so it works out that way.
Well, it's a wonderful community, Westwood. It's a fun place to be. Linda, when you first got involved with the Plato Society, what was different than your expectations? What did you discover?
I wanted a form of exercise for my mind. I was doing exercise, physical exercise. I am still currently working full-time.
Now, I was amazed to hear that you're running a business.
Yes, but I work for myself, so nobody knows when I answer my phone where I am. Okay?
Or how you're dressed.
Thank God for phone forwarding. Exactly. And I design furniture, so, and I have a secretary who shows up at 6:37 in the morning, so I call my own shots, work on my own time.
Very good.
And so I wanted something that would be different in my life, just to try it. And it dramatically changed my life in many ways. It brought back a magic that I had found missing, and it's the magic of exploring new ideas. It's the magic of being around people who can say no to you, and it's perfectly all right, and let's go have coffee afterward.
Right.
Or you go and give a long speech about something you read and give your opinions. Well, I don't agree with this part. Actually, I don't agree with anything you said. Well, why don't you agree? And it's perfectly all right. You can't do that with your friends. You can't do that with family. You certainly can't do that with buyers in business. So this was an illumination to me. There are people you can do this with, and it's okay.
Wow.
So I found a home with these people, and I love that. I love going to Plato. To me, it's a present.
Well, do you get to revisit, like, for example, old classics in literature?
Absolutely.
So that maybe bring fresh insight because of experience?
Well, I've done courses on media. I've done courses on Woody Allen for 14 weeks, and the man sitting next to me said, what are we going to talk about? Woody Allen movies, 14 weeks. We talked about existentialism, the purpose of life, what is love, death. You get into all that kind of stuff with Plato.
Wonderful. Well, recently we were invited to a group discussion where members were discussing War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. So let's take a look at their impressions of this classic.
I tend to stress the heroic quality of people in prominent positions, but Tolstoy says that this is really a false interpretation of how history really works. And his theory of history is based on his notion that man has two identities. In his own life, he thinks he has free will. He's an acting subject. He also has this identity as a participant in the collective, ongoing life of humanity. With everybody an equal participant, no one individually has the capacity to alter history. History is made by the accumulative actions and aspirations and needs of the whole massive community in an ongoing way. And in this sense, it's inevitable, it's predetermined. And he says the kings are really the slaves of history.
Tolstoy developed his theory of history because of his antipathy toward Napoleon, or the other way around.
Yeah.
And frankly, Isaiah Berlin maintains that the whole novel was built around his theory of history, so that the theory of history, according to Berlin, comes first.
The portrait that he gives, he's constantly being sarcastic about Napoleon, and he does this mainly through references to his physiognomy. He talks talks about his plump, soft, white hands. And I think I have finally figured out what that whole metaphor is, which is also used against Speransky.
That's where you get Speransky. He was going to open up the government, and they were going to have laws and things like that.
Same thing happened to Catherine the Great. She's tried to adopt the Enlightenment stuff, and then trouble pops up.
In reality, here's someone who can't even get across the river on his horse. Very ineffectual.
Yeah.
And so it seems to me that the introduction to him is very ineffectual, even though he is this idealized person.
It was fascinating. I love the interchange. Now, these are not all professors or doctors or lawyers. These are sort of ordinary folks. Aren't they, Fred?
Well, there's ordinary and there's
Right,
ordinary.
yeah, okay.
The coordinator, Joan McMasters, was a history professor. But again, they do run the gamut for everything. You know, you talked about the literature. I took last semester, or last term, I took the Divine Comedy. I'm starting in January, Latin American short stories. And a year ago, I took probably the most challenging SDG I ever had, which was James Joyce's Ulysses,
Yes.
where you had to take 3 books with you to explain to you what you were reading. And you know, in Ireland, in Dublin, they've mapped out the city that you could follow the book and all the places he went to.
Yeah.
And an interesting thing Plato was doing, in 2010, I think it is, we're going to take, let's say, an SDG on Turkey, and afterwards we're going to go to Turkey.
Fabulous.
To visit the country and visit the places that we were studying, and we've got people lined up to do it. We have a travel agency that's done it, and one of our members happens to live in Turkey during the summer. So she's quite familiar with the place itself.
How fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, birthplace of civilization. There we are. It's right there. Now, Linda, when you are involved, as you are now, do you help design courses and help create the curriculum?
We are, our members have forms that we filled out, and every time you think of something that might be a good course, you send it in. I've only been a member about 2 years. I've already had 2 of my courses. One was on gangsters.
Wow.
And another one was on American humor. And that was a course that I took, and it sort of got me in the mood of being funny and thinking funny. And one time I was stopped on the 405 freeway, and I mean literally we weren't moving, and I was late to pick up my friend, and I sat down and I wrote a poem.
Oh, did you bring it with you?
Funny you should ask that.
That's what
And
we call
I
a
would-
softball.
I would not have written my poem except for that instance and being in
Right.
Plato. And this actually got published in the LA Times afterwards, which is pretty
Pretty impressive for a
appropriately.
poem.
It's called the 405.
Very good.
The 405 is not alive. It died about 5 years ago. A freeway it's not. It's a parking lot. I park there. That's how I know. You can eat your lunch or dinner or brunch or tome this poem or wait. Don't despair, though you're going nowhere, if the 405's on your plate. A blanket of cars covers the tar as far as the eye can see. My soul is on hold, my fate's to be late. 405 means eternity.
Oh, bravo, Linda Kellerman. That is absolutely wonderful.
I'm filing it back.
And we have all had our moments. I remember one year, the person who won California's best license plate, his plate said, "I hate the 405." Now, when people come to you, they're bringing an entire lifetime of experience. That's got to be so enriching to see people who, you know, maybe they ran a plumbing business or something, but they kept involved. That's got to be so great, Fred.
Well, it really is, but I hope you don't get on the 101. We have to listen to another
I hope the governor doesn't come after it.
Guys, anything can happen.
Well, they do come from all over. We have, as an example, we have physicians and attorneys and college professors and business people.
And housewives.
And housewives.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
And basically what happens is they hear about us through friends, or they see, we have an ad in the UCLA Extension pamphlet, And if you don't mind, I'd like to just bring out the fact that
Please.
if they wanted to reach us, they could Google Plato Society
Right.
Los Angeles, or they can visit our website at uclaextension.edu/Plato.
Right.
And you can call us at 310-794-0231.
Fabulous.
And if you
That's
think
great.
that's a shameless plug, it is.
And indeed it is. Well, it's time for a short break. When we return, we will resume our discussion of the Plato Society. We'll be right back. Very good.
Ensuring that you, your family, and your home are prepared for a disaster is critical. Be self-reliant and assume responsibility for your own safety and that of your family. For additional information, please contact the Department on Disability or the Emergency Management Department by calling the numbers on the screen or by dialing 311.
Hey, buddy! Don't you know you should never leave a cooking pan unattended? And a working smoke detector can warn you of a fire. Like the one behind me. My hero!
Next time, listen to the ball. Have a smoke detector and a fire extinguisher that work. How'd you know? The ball called.
Welcome back to Aging in L.A. Our topic today is the Plato Society. Our guests are Fred Goldberger, chairman of the membership committee, and Linda Kellemer, chairperson of the colloquium committee. Thanks again for joining us. You know, this is utterly fascinating to me because this is a self-directed group of, and I'm assuming largely seniors, who can create their own topics, sort of write their own course of study. But give me an idea of some of the other topics that we mentioned. Frank Lloyd Wright and Tolstoy, of course, we saw. What other things are people discussing?
Well, as an example, they're discussing the we have history, political science, literature, social sciences, so as to give everybody an opportunity to follow their interests. One of the things we encourage is to take something you know nothing about.
Exactly. That's a wonderful thing. Fresh knowledge.
And this way, it's stimulating. They're learning about things they've never heard about. This term we have. Which other ones? What are you taking?
I just wanted to say that I took one, I pushed the envelope on the last time because I took one that was a 7-week course, and they don't have a lot of them, but I had a lot to do this time. So I took 9 Hungarians who fled Hitler and changed the world. And I'm studying atomic bombs and how do you make an effusion and a fission and all this. And I had one Hungarian who was a famous photographer whose name was André Curtiz. And I will never again look at one cloud in the sky floating without thinking about him.
Really? How so?
Because on an aesthetic level, he changed the way I look at certain things, or the way a spoon rests on a plate. He looked at the world in a different way.
Wow.
Now that was an absolute Plato moment. And we had a bunch of guys at the table who were talking about bombs, and we called them the bomb guys, you know. And the group becomes sort of like an extended family for those 2 hours. You get in and out, and you know this one has his agenda and this one, and that's another play that's kind of fun. And you leave there feeling like, okay, my mind, I'm going to be thinking about this. I'm going to go home and look this thing up and that thing up.
I mean, that's a wonderful thing. Well, something you mentioned earlier to help us understand this growing Latino community here in Southern California, Latin short stories. It can help give you an insight into the culture.
Yeah, we're discussing magic realism. I guess in Latin America, the literature has a lot to do with magic and realism and things like that. And to be quite frank with you, I know next to nothing about the subject, so I'm looking forward to to taking it.
Outstanding. Well, new knowledge is always wonderful, and of course, the value of being a bit older is that we have a place to put new knowledge.
We're not a bit older, we're just a bit wiser.
Wiser
That's right.
and better and all of that. Now, Is there any interaction with younger people, with college students themselves?
We have a program where we get about 10 to 12 honor students from UCLA that attend the courses on a kind of a pass or fail kind of thing.
Right.
We enjoy getting the viewpoint of the younger generation. I think they enjoy getting the viewpoint of the older generation. Of course, it's a little disconcerting, to be frank with you, because what they call history, I call current events. But notwithstanding that,
yes.
We had one which was so interesting. I took a course on passive resistance. So we studied Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, and Gandhi.
Of course.
One of the students from UCLA, she was slightly older and was married, brought her husband to one of the SDGs. He was raised in South Africa and was brought up under apartheid. I think he came to this country when he was like 9 or 10 years old. Wow. So he told us about it from a first-hand experience. And he was telling us about, he had a Chinese person who ran a supermarket, and they kept classifying him. Once he was colored, once he was white, then he was back to colored, and he says the same Chinese person was 3 different nationalities over a 10-year period.
I actually had a chance to be in South Africa on the 10-year anniversary of Nelson Mandela coming to power, which they called the miracle. And the most remarkable part of my trip was to go into their educational system with kids who were not only fluent in English, but spoke Afrikaans, of course, and then had their native language, Zulu. Right. And I would look at these children and go, they are gifted in 3 languages, disciplined, focused on their study, and I'm thinking, this is going to work. If you can keep that cultural heritage and yet at the same time say you are part of a very modern world, and they were working with computers and going, this is pretty cool, instead of excluding people.
One of the upsetting things, though, is he would tell us when he would go to school and then he would come home and a house was being destroyed because they were relocating these people.
Certainly.
For an 8 or a 9-year-old, it must have been very traumatic to have to go through that.
I'm sure so many societies, it's worth noting, however, that so much of this is a repeat of historical realities. I know the study of history, people say, well, why do you find that so fascinating? Because I don't want to make those same mistakes again. You know, I'm sure you have that as your...
But it's cyclical. Things have a way of coming back.
Yeah, well...
You'd think we'd all learn from stuff.
Unfortunately, it's like this pendulum. The corrective mechanism, sadly, many times takes blood because we have let things go for so long that in order to come back on course, it's a wrenching experience. And now, when you sit and talk, do you have a coffee pot around so you can sit and have a sip of coffee like you would in a living room?
What we do is between, it's 2 hours, 10 to 12.
I see.
And then...
or 2 to 4.
Or 1 to 3.
1 to 3.
Well, see, you get to make this up.
Yes, I remember it now.
And what happens is there's a break. And we have a ante-room where we all go to, and you see, it's a chance to see other people, because sometimes you can be in an SD, or what we call the SDGs, this study discussion groups, and not see a person for a year because you're in different classes.
Right, in different classes,
so this gives us a good opportunity. Now, there are other things we do at Plato as well.
Yes.
A lot of the members who have interests get together, like I know Linda belongs to an ethnic dining group.
Fun.
We have a group.
Food.
We have a group of people that study French and they want to maintain it. So once a month they meet and they speak French to each other.
I like that.
If you don't mind, we also have a poker group
because
too.
Because our time is growing short, I want to make sure we again give people the information for making contact. So we have, you can Google the Plato Society Los Angeles, right?
Right.
And then the other way is uclaextension.edu/Plato.
Correct.
And what was that phone number again?
310-794-0231.
Fabulous, fabulous. That's why I keep telling people to watch with a pencil and paper. Unfortunately, our time is up for today's Aging in L.A. Thanks so much to our guests, Fred Goldberger and Linda Kellemer of the Plato Society. And it's time now for our feature, Senior Stat Shots. Once again, we found today's statistics in the recently released LA County Seniors Count, a survey of the older adult population in Los Angeles City and County. Let's look at where seniors are living their golden years. 53% of our seniors are living in their own homes. 25% rent an apartment. Only 4% of seniors in Los Angeles County live in a retirement community. 1% are in assisted living facilities. 10% live with a relative or friend. 1% are in a home with 3 or 4 other seniors. 3% of folks over 65 reside in a mobile home park. And 2% of the survey did not respond to this question. And that's today's Senior Stat Shot. Now, you can get your own copy of this fact-filled survey. Over 16,000 people participated. You simply go online to www.ladcss.org, which is Los Angeles County Community and Senior Services. Click on LA County Seniors Count, and the full report will appear. Or you can have a copy sent to you by calling area code 213-738-2065. That's 213-738-2065. The Los Angeles Department of Aging produces this program with CityView, Channel 35, so that seniors living in Los Angeles and surrounding communities are well informed on the many issues that face them in everyday life. And also to let you know of the many services that the Department of Aging offers our senior citizens. Now, we'd like to hear from you with comments on the program, what you like, what you think can be improved, and ideas for future programs. So please give us a call. The number's there on your screen, 213-252-4088. That's 213-252-4088. Call us with your comments and ideas. We look forward to hearing from you. I'm Paul Peterson. For the Los Angeles Department of Aging, the people here at CityView, Channel 35, and all of our guests on Aging in LA, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you the next time. Linda, thank you again for coming. Oh, please, please.